Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Lakeland Rotary Club. My name is Joel Ivy, and I'm so glad you could join us. Next up on the agenda is Laura Adams, who's going to lead us in the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and the four-way test. Laura is a manager of special projects and historian with Public Supermarkets. She's practically a brand new Rotarian. I think it's about 6 or 8 months or something. But Laura, why don't you lead us in the invocation, please?
Father God, thank you for this day and this time of fellowship with our friends. Lord, I ask that you bless us and our families, and I pray for your shield of protection around us during these hard times. I ask that you open our hearts to be more like you, to be kind, compassionate, and loving, moving us to the service of others as you exemplified a servant's heart. I pray we all are intentionally focused on staying in your will and use this time together for your kingdom. Amen. Did that go through?
There we go. You ready for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to his republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and then the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Laura, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Trey, why don't you take it away for our introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. I see that we've got visiting Rotarian Doug McCall. Do we have any other visiting Rotarians or guests today?
Trey, this is Debbie Burdett, and yes, I do have 2 guests today. My first guest is Alex Baca. Alex is the general manager of the Winter Haven Airport. He is also the son-in-law of my friend and Mr. Mark Utek. And he and his wife are about to welcome their first baby in August. So to Alex Baca, I just send a warm Rotary welcome, and we appreciate you joining us today. Also, I have Belinda Kramer. Belinda is our marketing manager for the Early Learning Coalition of Polk County. Welcome.
Welcome to Alex and Belinda. Do we have any other guests or visiting Rotarians?
Good day, President Joel and fellow Rotarians. My name is Matt Cantrell, and I am a member of the North Columbus Rotary Club in Columbus, Georgia. I've been a Rotarian for 26 years. My wife has been a Rotarian for 16 years, and we're in the same club, obviously. We both served as president of our club, and I was assistant to our district governor some years back. And so I'm about 6 hours away, but we have very close ties, and our heart connects to Lakeland as our son and daughter-in-law live there. We visit there a great deal, and we'll be moving to Florida somewhere, and it might be very close to Lakeland, if not, especially since our first grandchild, will be here in April.
And welcome back. Do we have any other guests or visiting Rotarians? Okay, I think that's it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Trey. I'm going to forego the happy dollars because we've got a pretty long agenda today. The next thing that we're going to do is something that's always a favorite for all of us, and that's the induction of some new Rotarians. So if you'll indulge me for just a few moments, we got 4 Rotarians to be inducted today. The first one is John Lout. John, I call him a rebound Rotarian. He was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and moved here at age 11. John is a seasoned hospitality professional with 30 years of experience. And I think we all know what seasoned means. I know what it means. That means you got gray hair and body aches. John has worked with notable organizations such as Red Roof Inns, Hilton, IHG, and Hyatt Hotels. John spent 7 years running the AmeriSuites Hotel, which is now the Hyatt Place Hotel at the RP Funding Center. And he wondered while he was there what a new hotel in the adjacent parking lot might look like. And he got his chance to act on it through a partnership with Robert Lee and Wesley Barnett. And he is now the general manager of that new Spring Hill Suites Hotel right there in that location. So welcome, John. Carol Hornsby is next. Carol has lived in Lakeland 46 years, even though she is only 29. Really? She is married to the nicest man on the planet. Dr. Mike may say the second nicest. She's a mother of two amazing millennials, and she's a pescatarian, which I'm pretty sure means she studies gnats. Carol loves traveling, hiking the beach, and in general being outdoors. Everyone has their vices though, and Carol, a personal trainer and health coach, is shamefully addicted to Diet Mountain Dew. Now, if she said she mixed that with bourbon, I think we might be onto something. Next up is Irma Cole. Irma grew up in Massachusetts, which of course she picked the hardest one to say and spell. She has also lived in New Hampshire, California, and now Florida. Irma graduated from Boston with a BS in education, where they actually teach the correct use of the letter R. That's a class our distinguished district governor, Mark Skolnick, failed. An antique dealer and a diehard Red Sox fan, and actually threw out a first pitch at Fenway in 2008. Irma enjoys traveling, photography, cooking, and crafting. She's a multiple Paul Harris Fellow and serves on the Public Image Committee for District 6890. Finally, last certainly not least, is Dan Hill. Dan is now heretofore known as the King of Brevity, based on the bio that he sent. That's a title that I thought I held, actually. Dan is a career Army officer preparing to retire and enjoy golf, exploring new restaurants, places, and bourbons. He will obviously fit in well with the Jack Lohman crowd. So John, Carol, Irma, and Dan, it is my pleasure to welcome you into the Lakeland Rotary Club. You are joining the oldest service organization in the world, an institution begun in 1905 by Paul Harris and three other businessmen in Chicago. Today, Rotarians number 1.2 million members in 34,000 clubs in more than 200 countries. The Lakeland Rotary Club was founded in 1918. That's when Tom Conger was 12. Only the sixth club in Florida. For the past 102 years, this club has served this community and others throughout the world in need, growing its current membership of 200 members, one of the largest in the state. You are joining a club with a proud tradition and a continuing commitment to service above self. We invite you to get to know all of our members through fellowship and service, and then have fun while doing it. We insist on that. You will be provided the opportunity to learn about our community through weekly programs and serve on various committees dedicated to Rotary's ideals. Whether you prefer local or international service projects, you will have ample opportunities to serve others. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our newest Rotarians. That's always one of my most favorite parts. So we're going to move into other announcements. So for foundation news, we want to hear from Brandon Clark, who is the chair of the foundation committee.
Thank you, President Joel. So I'll kick it off, and what we're going to do is use the next couple of weeks and do kind of some short testimonials from various members of our club on why they are engaged in the foundation, experiences they've had on trips and other things with the foundation, and just to provide some tangible context of why it matters to a lot of us that give to the foundation, and to encourage all of us to up the ante. Just a couple of little points. We currently only have 32 of our club members that make regular monthly donations through Rotary Direct. So obviously we're over 190 members right now, and only 32 of us are doing that. So that's one of the things that we're going to challenge us to step up And then, in a couple weeks, we'll talk about, Paul Harris Fellows and that that esteemed honor as well, and give a little bit more into how that works. But without further ado, I want to introduce Tom Conger, who agreed to speak about some of his experiences with the foundation and why he thinks it's so important. Tom?
Okay, thanks, Brandon. All right, time to get excited about the Rotary Foundation. And Amanda, can you bring up that first slide, please? Okay. In 2014 and 2015, our club contributed to our global grant funds to an effort coordinated by the Rotary Club of the Villages. Our own Kathy Abels accompanied a group of volunteer medical teams comprised of physicians, nurses, and program managers from Florida Hospital in Orlando to Merida, Mexico, to perform over 50 cleft lip and palate surgeries, mostly on children under 2 years old. The relief and gratitude of these patients and their families was overwhelming to the volunteers and to the donors. Projects like these would not have been possible without donations made by Rotarians and others to the Rotary Foundation. Here's how it works. Say you donate $100 to the Rotary Foundation. It invests that money for 3 years, using the investment income to finance the expenses of the foundation. It then allocates half of your donation to the World Fund and half to the district designated funds. The foundation makes global grants to approved applicants from the World Fund, and the district makes local grants to approved club projects. This project is an example of our club's participation in a global grant. Our donation to the food bank last year was an example of a local project. Every dollar you contribute goes toward doing good in the world, whether internationally or locally. Please consider a donation to the Rotary Foundation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And I just sent around in the chat the link to the My Rotary website that takes you straight to the donation page. So you can click on that and you log in. If you have any questions on that, we can be of assistance. But it's very easy to set up either one-time or recurring donations, and they can be as small or large as you want. President Joel, back to you.
All right, Brandon, thank you. Thank you for your great work on the foundation committee too. We appreciate you stepping up for that. So thank you. Our next announcement, Vince Jones, do you want to talk about the Twilight 5K?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm here to ask for your sponsorship in the 5 Rotary Club's annual Twilight 5K fundraiser. As you're aware, we canceled the 5K run this year, but we are offering sponsorships at 3 levels: $100, $250, and $500. The more you donate, the larger your name will appear in print on the back of the shirt. As you can see, this year's color shirts are sky blue. We made it very easy for you to go to Club Runner website, click on the Twilight 5K fundraiser sponsorship in the upper right corner. Enter your information, enter the quantity of shirts that you would like, pay, and the shirts will be delivered approximately in mid-March. I forgot to also mention that if you just like to purchase a shirt, they are $15. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince. Appreciate yours and everybody else's work on that committee. I think you've been doing this for a couple of years now, at least, so thank you for that. Spring up session time, announcement time. Dr. Mill or Scott Reed, you guys got something to add to that? Somebody's on mute, maybe.
Yes, I'm here. Hi. We have two people that I wanted updates from that to share with the team. Jessica, do you want to start? She's on our committee and she's helping us with marketing.
Yes, hello everybody. We were hoping that if you have Facebook, if you use Facebook, you could go on there today. Actually, even right now, if you have your phone in front of you, go to Spring Obsession. And I'm just going to quickly tell you how to go about it. So you log into Facebook, search for Spring Obsession. You're going to click on the one that just says Spring Obsession, not the one that says Spring Obsession 2021. That one's just the event. So you're going to click on the actual page. And then as soon as you get there, just like the page. Because if you like the page, then your friends will see that you like the page and then they can see it too. Me and Melody, we're posting a lot of different things on there right now. So anything that you see, you could also just click the share button under it. Any kind of likes on the pages, shares on the pages, that will just get us a lot more visibility. So thank you very much. Like and share.
Thank you. Share, share, share. Sharing is caring. And Scott, Reed, did you want to, is he in? I don't know if he showed today. Well, volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. If you go onto the Rotary website, you know that you can just click on Spring Obsession. There's a place to either donate as well as volunteer for the event. It's coming along very nicely and we really need your support and we appreciate it. Remember, they're for the AEDs for local law enforcement. Thank you. That's all we have.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mill. Thank you, Jessica. Jack Longman, you want to talk about the upcoming fellowship event?
You know I do. This Thursday, day after tomorrow, we're going to go out drinking. So join us at the Joinery at 5:30. You also got plenty of choices for dinner if you want some great food. Great time to get together. They got indoor, outdoor seating, so plenty of room to spread out. But I know everybody is jonesing for some good old-fashioned real human contact, so here's your opportunity. So I hope we'll see you Thursday at the Joinery on Lake Mirror.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. Looking forward to that. And just so everyone knows, I know we've been getting a lot of requests to try to get back to meet in person as a Rotary Club group, and we are interested in trying to do these things. We just got to make sure that we can get the technology set up right to where it will work properly. We've been struggling with that so far, but we think we have some inroads. So the opportunity is not dead, but it's going to be on a limited basis as well. So stay tuned. We'll be talking about that some more over the next couple of meetings, but we do want to try to make some things happen. And I believe we're pretty close to having a solution at hand. So please stay tuned. I appreciate everybody's patience, but I'll tell you straight up, I will not leave any of the Rotarians behind. So if we can't do this successfully in a live hybrid Zoom standpoint, then we will just stay with Zoom only, because everybody has the right to attend these meetings and we want everybody to be part of this group. So thank you for your patience with that. Now let's move into the program. The program is going to be kicked off by our own Kim Brunson. Kim is the Business Relationship Manager with Publix. She's on the Board of Directors and she is our program chair. Kim is an 8-year Rotarian. Kim, why don't you take over the program introduction, please?
Thank you, President Joel. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to Gene Conrad. He is the director at our airport. He's actually been at the Lakeland Linder International Airport for 11 years. I know we're all excited to hear what's going on out there. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Gene.
Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. And thank you, everyone, for inviting me today. I know there's probably a lot of questions and there's probably people in our vicinity of the airport that'll be interested in this program today. So I'm happy to be here. And also anything I can do to help get Joel off the front page of the paper, I'm here for you, brother. So can everybody see my screen? Are we good? Okay. Again, appreciate the time today. Let me see, it's not moving for me. Here we go. Before I get into what I want to be able to talk to you about is specifically about Amazon and what's going on, obviously the noise impacts, and their future growth and all that. But, I did want to talk and start with, what's been happening at the airport here over the last 10 years and all the investment that has occurred, which you can see here on this slide has been very, very significant. So over the last 10 years, about $440 million in investment into this facility. About $170 million has been grants from the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, the Florida Department of Transportation, and also airport funding. So you can see a lot of the projects we've done there. Obviously, NOAA, what we've done for Amazon, which you'll see here shortly, 22 very different pavement projects, our new air traffic control tower, Station 7, our dual house fire station in U.S. Customs. But then also you can see there as well, over $270 million in private investment that's occurred here on the airport as well. So granted, we're investing a lot in the facility, but because of our investments, obviously the private investment has been significant. And a special shout out again to Joel for the 3 solar farms. We appreciate that. I wish I could see his face, by the way. And with all that investment, what you'll see here, this is our revenue growth. This is what we're forecasting 2010 through 2029. You can see in 2021, we're over 10 million this year, but you can see when I got here back in 2010, we were about 3.5 million. And then also going into 2029, that 11.9 million, that's a super conservative number. It'll most likely be higher than that based on our activity levels and our growth that we're projecting. But you can see it's been a significant increase in our revenues. As far as the economic impact, some of you have probably seen this in presentations I've done in the past to this club and other clubs and other speaking engagements that I've done around the city. But back in 2010, our economic impact was about 162 million. You can see down there at the bottom, and in total employment on airport for the various businesses that are located here was about 800. Then you can move over to 2019. It grew to 574 million annually, and our employment was 1,500 here on airport and city-owned and airport-operated facilities. And then what we're projecting for 2022 is over $1 billion. Now this incorporates Amazon's impact and their investment and their operation here on the airport, along with other growth from other businesses here on the airport, and we'll be over 2,500 people employed here at the airport and again in our various businesses. Getting into the Amazon, a little bit. So when you see what you see here is this was our original intermodal development concept. I will tell you, I started talking about this concept and this development actually back in 2013. I actually went back and looked at various presentations, whether it was again Rotary, Kiwanis, strategic planning retreat with the city. But we've been talking about this development, for a long, long time. We started the work in grant programming back in 2014 with the Florida Department of Transportation. We completed the environmental assessment with the FAA, which we're required to do, which is a NEPA action that we have to go through. It's a long, drawn-out process, but the FAA has to approve, any significant developments that we're doing here on the airport. So we went through that process, and that was completed in August of 2016. We completed the design concept and what you see here for what we're going to build. So what we, the airport and the city, actually build was just the horizontal infrastructure, the ramp, utilities, cleared the site, and taking care of all the stormwater. But you can see we completed that design in December of 2017. And then subsequently we started in December of 2017, I think it was December 23rd, actually, we got a cold call from Amazon. And, they had asked if there was any interest, on our part for them to locate here. And, then they started vetting us for the next year and a half. And then we ended up executing our lease for the Amazon site in May of 2019. So you can see from where we were from our initial concept, which were several MRO hangars. If you can see my cursor here, just hangars for larger aircraft with a smaller cargo facility. And these represent 3 767s here in a 50,000 square foot warehouse to where we are today. This was the final concept plan for Amazon. So you have actually here 7 aircraft positions. They actually only have 6 on the ground, but this represented 7. They're 223,000 square foot sorting facility, and then 2 other ancillary buildings that were built over here to the east. Just to put it in perspective what we're looking at, this is the Ruthven's Air Park here, and then up here is Drainfield Road, and this is Firminich right here on the corner. This is a picture of, this was August 25th of this year, so you can see what it actually looks like today on the ground. The building went live back on July 15th, And currently there's over 800 people working in this facility in 3 different shifts. So like we see with Amazon and there are various other facilities here in the county, obviously the large facility in County Line Road, what they just built in Auburndale, and other facilities in Davenport and other places. This is not a warehouse, so they are not storing anything in this facility. This building that you see here is actually 3 stories. They sort cargo in there, so all the cargo that comes in, whether truck or via airplane, goes into the building, goes up to the 3rd floor. It goes through a giant sorter, goes down to the 2nd floor, and they have about 400 robots out down there that are plucking and moving things around. And then it finally is put into chutes, and it goes down to the 1st floor where people are on the ground packing containers and boxes, whether it's going back out to the trucks or going out to the airplanes. And this is just another picture to show you the ramp during one of their afternoon pushes. Moving into the future, this is our existing airport layout plan. Now, granted, this is just a snapshot, again, just to give you location. So again, this is Firmenich in the gray here. This is their current location and the current build out and what they've completed. And then over here is the option that they have for 60 additional acres in their future development. So the green area here would be future aircraft ramp for another 3 aircraft positions. This would be future building. And then this is future trailer parking and then future associate parking on the site. Just to put it in perspective, so when you see the airplanes in the air, this aircraft right here, this is a 767-300. And right now we have 3 of these operating in and out of here a day. And then this is the 737-800. A lot of you are probably very familiar with this airplane. This is the exact same airplane that Southwest flies. 737-800s basically makes up the majority of their fleet. So when you see the blue airplanes, that's what that aircraft is. And right now, Amazon is forecasting, based on what I had shown you for this development here, in 2027 to be at 22 departures a day. And right now we're at 7. During the Christmas peak, we were at 8. Now, specifically talk about noise and impacts and flight tracks and whatnot, which I know is a hot topic. We obviously, and I've talked about this for a lot of years, we tend to project out, whether it's NOAA or Draken with their fighter jets, and obviously with Amazon or future commercial service, we project away from our core. What I want to be able to do is kind of go over the flight tracks and the flight paths and show you where the hot what we, as far as our heat map and how we look at noise, where the complaints are being generated and where folks are mostly being impacted. Now, what I say, obviously there are other impacts, things that I'm not, aware of, but just from what we see and based on the complaints that we've received and how we're mapping them on Google Maps and where these folks live and are located, this is what I want to be able to talk about and show you the flight tracks and where the most of the noise complaints are being generated. So that what you're seeing here, this is 927, this is the airport, this is Amazon's development here. And what this represents is this is the runway 27 arrival end. This is runway 27 arrivals from the east. So as these aircraft drop down, this is Lake Hollingsworth right here. You've seen them downtown as they're coming around out by the Polk Parkway, which is over here in this area. But when they're coming in, they're turning to hit this, what we call our extended center line of the runway. All right, sometimes they drop in here and cut this corner, which we don't like. This is Cleveland Heights Golf Course right here. You'll see later we are working to correct that. We don't like them doing that. We want to get them further out, making their turns and then coming straight in. But what I'll tell you is, as you look east of the airport, obviously there's developments here, housing developments here, actually a brand new one right here. But this is South Florida. And then east of South Florida, obviously we are generating a lot of complaints in this area, which obviously we're well aware of. But this is a hot zone for us on our heat map. So this is a hot zone as these aircraft are coming in on runway 27. When we look at runway 27 departures, so again, this is the 27 runway, and when the aircraft depart, they move to the west. So when we depart 27, and whether they go to the north over County Line and all the warehouses over here, or they're going south, you can see out here to the west, it's not heavily populated. And we'd like to keep it that way, but obviously things change over time. But generally, departures on the 27, on runway 27 out to the west, we barely generate any complaints when we're in this configuration and departing out to the west. Runway 9 arrivals from the west. So this is Plant City out here. I've got a great map that'll show you how they drop in and hit this extended center line. But if you're paying attention to any of the city commission meetings as of late, when we talk about our Cat 3 instrument landing system, it is on runway 9. So this is our precision approach into runway 9. And so as these aircraft come in from the west, landing to the east, and this is the approach into runway 9 right here, we do not receive maybe 1 or 2, 3 complaints that we received over the last 8 months from this arrival from the west into runway 9. And why I'm bringing this up as well is, we'll talk about a little later from as far as our mitigation efforts and goals is preferential runway use, which is, depart runway 27 and then arrive runway 9. So this is a preferred approach to the airport when winds are calm or the winds are coming out of the east. This is the approach that we like. Now, runway 9 departures to the north and south as the winds are coming out of the east. Obviously, this is grasslands right here, and this is a hot zone on our heat map. Obviously, because when these aircraft turn to the north, they're turning, and then they're climbing out over the top of grasslands. I think Joel's house is up here somewhere. If it's not Amazon, it's Sky Spot for Joel. Again, I wish I could see his face. But they make this 360 turn north right over Lakeside Village and grasslands. So again, this is a hot area, hot zone for us. And then generally, when we make this turn to the south, when these aircraft turn south, and you see them in South Florida, or Christina is over here, these aircraft are generally going to the west, so they're making this turn to fly out over the Gulf. Some complaints over here, but not a lot. I know the railroad runs through here and whatnot, but this, again, isn't the perfect scenario for us, but the winds dictate, which way the aircrafts are going to land or depart. So when the winds are out of the east, this is how we're departing. And again, I had referenced a little bit earlier. So this was just a snapshot from back in July and August. And what you can see here is our main runway right here. And the yellow are the landings into runway 27. So this is downtown Lakeland right here. This is the Polk Parkway here. And you can see how they were coming in here. We want them to be way out here to come in for their 27 arrivals. That is our goal, is to get them out here. You can see the green here. This is that north turn over grasslands. The orange here are the departures from 27 heading out west and them turning north. And then the red here is the arrivals into runway 9 from the west landing to the east. So you can kind of see the areas, so again, these are arrivals into 27, not tremendous amount of impact here until we get to this area. This dot right here, this orange dot is about 3.5 miles out from the approach end of 27. So you can see how they all come together again on our extended center line and why there's an impact here, and again over grasslands here. So some of our noise mitigation goals and efforts. So we've hired a consulting firm to help us put together a former air traffic controllers because this is complex. And if you've seen in the paper, obviously with the ledger and things have been discussed reference our noise. Obviously we're well aware of it. And we take it very seriously. So we hired a consultant to help us put together what will be future approaches into the airport, specifically runway 27. And then also, for example, the first bullet, formalized official preferential runway use program. So again, we talked about, the arrival into 9 over Plant City is, there's not a lot out to the west. So it's a preferred arrival for us. And also that 27 departure. So between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. local, those are preferred tracks if weather is conducive for it. So generally 60-70% of the mornings and nights, if not more, the winds are calm. So for example, back in August, September, and October, we had a flight that would arrive at 2:30 in the morning, and a lot of people didn't know about it because it was landing on runway 9 from the west over Plant City and would come in and then depart at 6 o'clock in the morning. We knew about the 6 o'clock in the morning when it would depart runway 9, but if it was departing 27 or those early morning departures, a lot of people aren't aware of it because it's going out to the west. Another piece for us, regardless of the departure runway, and as the mayor's talked about in the past, and we've sent letters to the FAA, and as you've seen in the ledger articles, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go back here for a minute. We want to get these aircraft up higher, especially when they're departing 9. So whether they're going to the north or they're going to the south right now, as we're in Tampa's airspace, these aircraft are held down. They're only allowed to climb up to 2,000 feet, and they're held there until Tampa departure gives them a higher altitude to climb to. So, for example, some of these aircraft, as they turn to the south, have to sit here and loiter once they climb up to 2,000 feet, which, to be quite honest, is right here in this area, even before they get to West Pipkin. And then they just have to loiter until they're given a higher altitude by Tampa departure. So our goal is, and they've actually been working with us, and it's been actually happening, is to get them up higher. I've seen some aircraft to get up over 3,000 feet before they get up to West Pipkin. So as they're turning south, getting down towards Christina, once they get to that 3,000 foot altitude, it's kind of the sweet spot. It's not that there's no impact, it's just much less than obviously they would be at 2,000 feet. So again, the goal is to get those folks up, get those aircraft up higher as they're departing out of the airport. Another piece for us is, again, that runway 27 approach, and to design an instrument approaches to avoid the noise sensitive areas. And I'll show you here on the next slide. One is a parkway approach, to where they would fly right over the top of the Polk Parkway and then move south to line up with the runway. But then to also get them up higher as they go over those neighborhoods to the east of us, over there by South Florida and out to Lakeland Highlands, to get them up higher, but then a flight idle descent of the aircraft as they go over those areas. Again, it won't eliminate the impact completely, but there are things we can do to limit those impacts as we continue to move forward. And here, again, is what we're representing here is the parkway approach. So this is Lake Hancock here. Bring them down the Polk Parkway essentially, and then have them turn in, fly over the top of the parkway, and then move to the south here and line up with the runway, and then come in, missing a lot of obviously the noise sensitive area right here. Again, this doesn't fix all of it, because anywhere we go with it, whether we shift it south or it goes north, is the extended center line here, even pushing it up here, then we start to affect these folks as well. So anywhere we move it, people are going to be impacted. So it's obviously very sensitive, but that is something we're going to look at for, like a day like today, where it's nice and clear, to just, again, bring them over the top of the parkway and then have them move south and then come in and land. And this represents them coming in from the south. Some of the Ontario, California flights, or Sacramento, track to the south down here by Mulberry, Bartow, and then turn in for runway 27. So I know that was a lot of information really fast. I know there's probably a ton of questions. Hopefully that answers some of that, but I'm happy to go back through some of the slides and explain some of this again as well, if you'd like for me to do that, or I don't know how we're going to handle the questions.
I've got you on the questions, Gene.
Yep.
There's actually only two right now, but I have a feeling that they're going to start pouring in. The first is, can you explain which is typically loudest, takeoff or landings, or is there no material difference?
Well, actually the takeoff is the loudest. And what happens is, let me go back. So in this area, hold on, when I get to the 27 approach. So what happens right here, so right about in this area, I think this is South Poe, this is Cleveland Heights right here, and this is South Florida. So about right in here, the aircraft are about 1,100 or 1,200 feet. And it's not that the aircraft are loud because the engines or whatnot. It's when these aircraft are coming in, they drop the landing gear and they're dropping and the flaps are down. What we call these aircraft are now dirty, and the sound is being generated off the wind hitting those surfaces. So again, whether it's the landing gear or it's the flaps, that's where that noise is being generated essentially. So as these aircraft take off, a lot of the noise and how the FAA looks at noise, I think this is a critical piece. So I'm going to try to move. I hope I don't mess this up. I had another, let me see if I can pull it up here. When the FAA looks at noise, so as Amazon gets ready to expand in the future, we're going through another whole environmental assessment, and we'll have an opportunity, obviously, for the public to come out. We'll have a big, giant public meeting so we can explain everything that's going on, and people can obviously opine and give their comments to us and to the FAA. But when the FAA looks at noise, this is what they're looking at. And I'll tell you right now, I don't agree with this, because this is what the FAA looks at as far as noise impacts. So this line right here, this turquoise line, this is what we call the 65 DNL, is the 65 day-night level of the average of the noise generated from whether it's the landings, when they put in the thrust reversers or they're taking off, and obviously there's a lot of thrust to get the aircraft off the ground. But this is what the FAA looks at as far as noise impacts right now. And what I'll tell you is the problem is they don't look at and worry about these noise impacts out here, which in my opinion, and I'm not just pandering and telling you this, I mean, this is a problem. Again, they're looking at the noise impacts here. They don't consider the noise impacts of these aircraft coming in over the tops of these neighborhoods as significant, which again, I don't agree with, but that's the Federal Aviation Administration. So again, when they look at noise, they're focused on these areas here. So if I'm sure some people have read up and you look at various other airports, they'll use Sarasota, for example. They did what's called a Part 150 noise study back out in 2004, 5-ish time frame. And when you look at their airport, from Google Maps, they are just surrounded by homes, whether it's right off the approach ends, it's on either side, they're just all over the place. But they spent about $45 million buying up properties and also noise mitigating those homes because they were inside, again, what we call the 65 DNL. So the FAA funded that and paid for it. But as you can see, again, when we're looking at and the noise impacts that we're generating, it's further out. It's over here in Grasslands again, and it's this area out to the east. So that's, where our impacts are. But unfortunately, my friends at the FAA are only concerned about the close-in impacts. If our noise contour gets out here to these neighborhoods, then we could mitigate or buy those properties at some point in the future. But over here, again, we're trying to mitigate by shifting it here to the Parkway, to help these areas over here. Hopefully this makes sense to folks. I know it's pretty complex. There's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, but hopefully I'm getting people their answers to their questions.
Yeah, I think your graphics are helpful, and I'm following you, and I don't know anything about aviation, so good so far. There's a couple of questions in the box wanting you to offer whatever update you have about the status of getting commercial service into our airport and what's going on in talks with American, if they're still in the mix.
Yeah, so, I will say, so a couple things with commercial service. What I'll say is one is, I know as far as what we just talked about with noise impacts and everything is going on, I know everybody's, it's Amazon, it's Amazon, it's Amazon. But what I will tell you when I showed you the aircraft types, for example, we will have other operators, specifically commercial service here over time, flying similarly sized, in types of aircraft. So again, the blue aircraft, which is 737-800, Southwest flies those, American, Allegiant flies Airbus A320s, Frontier, similar size aircraft, again, to that blue Amazon aircraft. So as we're looking at commercial service, we want those things to be here. But I will tell you, we did have, there's a new startup, and I won't name them by name, and they're well-funded, well-capitalized, and, their CEO is someone you would know by name, most likely, because he's put together other airlines that are very successful here in the United States right now. But we were approached by them, and they were looking to serve, Lakeland Linder International Airport with 40 flights a day. And what I shared, with you earlier, Amazon's forecasted to be 22 departures a day, but they were looking to do this new startup airline, 40 departures a day. In my world, being the airport director, I'd be like, wow, this is awesome. Lots of revenue, lots of people moving. This is awesome. All these destinations will be able to serve. But 40 arrivals, 40 departures a day is a lot. And, obviously there's already impact with, our 7 to 8 flights now. To add on another 40 flights, I don't know that we as a city want that. Obviously I'm going to take my lead from our city manager and from our city commission. But, I think we all need to think long and hard, whether we want that many flights. I don't think we want that many, me personally, but it's not my airport. I just run it. But I think that is something to think about. Now, to get just back into the original question with commercial service, what I will tell you is there's things that are actually moving for us. I don't want to get into a lot of details, but with COVID and the pandemic, it's actually, when you look at the airlines now, obviously they've cut a ton of capacity, they've cut flights, they've parked airplanes, but now as they come out of this, they are looking at new opportunities like never before, and that is happening for us. It won't be this 40 flights, a day that I just talked about with this other airline. That airline probably is going to go somewhere else because new opportunities have opened up for them at the bigger airports. But some things that I haven't even thought of or talked about in the past are now at the table, and we're talking about it. So, I think on the commercial service side, even with the pandemic and everything that's going on, it's probably better than it's been in a long time for us with new opportunities on that front. So those talks continue, and hopefully we'll get something here, within the next year.
Okay, a question from one of our members who lives just south of 540A and says that they're seeing increasing flights of military type aircraft around their property, and wondering if that's coming from your airport, and are there more flights like that planned?
Yeah, so that is coming from us. So those are just onesies and twosies. Those aren't scheduled operations. I think this is 540A here. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I believe this is Scott Lake. I believe this is 540A right here. So this is down the Christina area. So I will tell you, Draken, for example, hopefully a lot of people know about Draken International. They're a DoD contractor. They buy air forces from around the world, bring those jets back here, fighter jets, regenerate them, and then certify them here. And then they go out to Nellis Air Force Base and other, bases around the country to fight our men and women, do aggressor flying like Jester and Top Gun. But sometimes they'll go out here and they'll loiter at 11,000 feet over the top. Some of what you may have saw last week was a Navy P3 or a P8 Poseidon, which is basically like the blue Amazon airplane, or what Southwest flies, the 737-800. They just came in for that day to do touch and goes. They did some racetrack patterns, came down here to the south, and came around, and we're moving in this direction as well up to the north. But they did about 6 or 8 circuits and then departed. So that's activity that we've always had here, whether it's Coast Guard C-130s, NOAA does touch and goes, but the military sometimes, with other aircraft come in and do touch and goes, but it's a onesies and twosies and one-offs, not scheduled.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, how will Sun and Fun Fly-In and Amazon work together when that happens?
Well, that's a great question. Let me move it back. If you don't mind, a couple slides here. Let me see. Well, I'll just go from this slide here. So, with Sun and Fun, obviously Sun and Fun's hugely important to us. Obviously, this last year they were canceled because of the pandemic. We are moving full steam ahead this year. We need to have and we must have this fly-in because last year really put them in a bad position. So we are doing everything we can to make sure that event is as successful as possible. So when we look at Amazon and how they operate, Sun and Fun is very unique. Because, it's a 6-day event. Obviously, it gets very, very busy here for certain periods of the day. So, for example, from basically 8 in the morning to about 12:30 before the air show starts, it is very, very busy for arrivals. I will tell you right now, Amazon is not scheduled to fly during that period. So all of those aircraft will be able to come in and depart without being interrupted by a larger jet. And then during the air show period, we'll have, some 3 or 4 arrivals and then 3 or 4 departures during the air show period, which will just work into the air show, and the airport's closed other than for aerobatic aircraft. So it makes it easy for them to come in and operate. And then we don't have any arrivals until after the air show is over, and we do our nighttime push. So after the air show, I'm sure if you've been out here, you've seen upwards of 300 airplanes depart in about an hour. We're still going to be able to do that, get those aircraft out of here and arrive some aircraft. And really just work them into the show. And really it's no different for them, whether it's an Air Force C-17 coming in or it's someone in a Gulfstream 6, FAA comes and runs our tower during Sun and Fun, and they're just going to work that traffic just like any other jet traffic that would come into the airport. It will cause a little bit of delay. So like over Lake Parker, when you see all those aircraft circling, they may have to hold out there for an additional 5 minutes or something like that if an aircraft's coming in. But again, the FAA is here to run our traffic, and we're already mixing in large jet traffic with the small guys anyway, so we're just going to add a couple more in. Another thing just to identify is when you look at Amazon's building here, their building sits in what we call the Jet Demonstration Team aerobatic box. So part of the lease with Amazon is they have to vacate that building for up to 3 hours per day when the military jet demonstration teams are here, whether it's the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels. So they have to get all their people out of that building, and they agreed to do it before we even executed the lease, and when we're going through our negotiations with them. So that way we'll be able to maintain and make sure we can have the jet demonstration teams come here and wow the crowds every year moving forward.
Okay, and now this is your last question. I'm not going to tell you who it comes from. I think you'll be able to guess.
Joel.
Can you cancel Sky Spot's advertising license?
Well, that's a great question because we actually got a phone call from someone that lives over there in that neighborhood. And what I will tell you is we are a public use airport, and SkySpot leases hangar space from us here. And he is a little small business, and we don't control the airspace. The FAA does. And as long as he's over the 1,000-foot altitude, he's allowed to do that. And as long as the FAA says he can be in that airspace at that time. So sorry, my friend.
I'm thinking that complaint might have come from Joel Ivy's neighborhood. I'm not sure.
Probably.
Thank you.
Amanda, thank you for fielding the questions. Gene, thank you so much for stepping in and giving us this presentation. I don't know who would have asked you that question, to be honest with you. That had to be somebody else, but
I'm sure it was.
If that guy goes out of business, it's not going to hurt my feelings at all. As a token of our appreciation for you coming by and speaking with us, I have this once-in-a-lifetime book that you can write your memoirs and all your ideas for how you're going to shut down SkySpot advertising.
Well, actually, I'll trade. You can keep the book, and I'll take another solar farm. How about that?
Nope, you get a book.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it. Hopefully people learned a lot, and I'm always available. Send me an email. I'm happy to meet with people one-on-one and to explain anything else or, just anything else that's happening here at the airport. But again, appreciate the opportunity.
Good deal. Thank you again, Gene. Gene's bringing a lot of economic development into this city, almost single-handedly. Him and his small team are always out getting grants and trying to do new things at the airport to make it just a better place. So thank you. All right, Trey, would you thank our guests and visiting Rotarians, please?
Thank you to our visiting Rotarians, Doug McCall and Matt Cantrell, and our guests, Alex Vaca and Belinda Kramer. Thank you all for coming, and we hope to have you back.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Our weekly quote comes from Henny Youngman. If you're 55 or older, you might know who he is. His quote is, "I just got back from a pleasure trip. I took my mother-in-law to the airport." Next week's program is Stacy Campbell Dominic. She's going to talk to us about history in the making. So I hope you all tune in for that. It's going to be a really great presentation. Absent any protest to the contrary, we're going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great week.